I've been a scoutmaster for years, and probably a fair number of times I've been lost with the scouts out in the outdoors, and I don't tell them I'm lost, but after a while, and we wander around for a while, they realize that maybe I don't know where I'm at. And our favorite joke is they'll say, well, do you know where you're at? And I'll always get down on the ground, put an X in the ground, and say, yeah, I'm right there. I just don't know where everything else is. That's kind of how our economy is. I kind of know where I'm at financially in this world, but I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where everything else is going. And as I sit and meet with clients, an awful lot of clients are really worried about what's happening and where things are going and how do they plan. What's the safe course of action? So some of the ideas I'm going to give you is what I do myself and what I see that clients need to do. Number one, stay out of debt. And not that you shouldn't borrow, but if you're going to borrow, make sure you've got the ability to pay it off. And in today's world, if I was the banker giving a loan, I'd want to make sure the client was very healthy and he was going to easily be able to pay that loan off. And I guess that's one of the problems that got us where we are, is people just weren't able to pay off the debt they were incurring. And our collateral, which may have been worth a lot of money 2 years ago, isn't worth as much now. So number one, is our clients stay out of debt. People are starting to say to me, well, gee, you know, you can get some really good deals, so I go borrow some money to buy some of these good deals. And I said, well, that's kind of how the economy got where it is. If you're going to, I had a few people contacting me today saying, well, we think we can go out and buy bad loans and foreclose on the stuff and make a lot of money. Right? And my worry is, yeah, you might be able to buy some bad loans and go foreclose on the property, but now you're going to have property that the debtor wasn't able to sell, and neither was the bank. Be careful. Number two, have a lot of cash. Cash is kind of king right now. That's easy to say when we don't have cash, but if you have your choice, right now, my opinion is be as much into cash as you can. I wouldn't be speculating anymore. I also tell clients who are thinking of retiring, don't. If you got a job and it's a decent job and paying your salary to keep it, it might be your best source of income. And your salaries, I'm seeing a lot of retired folks going back to work. And I used to joke that when I retired, I'd be a Walmart greeter. I may still end up that way if I were to retire, because then I would have to get back to the law business, and the only thing I'm trained to do is be a Walmart greeter. So. And invest carefully and prudently. Almost every week of my life, a client comes and gives me a new deal that he's thinking of investing in, and half of them are just ridiculous. One last week, the client was sure he's going to get a 200% return of money this year. And I said, well, great. If you have an extra $10, put it in. But if you have $1 million, I'm not sure I'll do it unless you have another $10 million in the bank and you can afford to lose the first $1 million. Now is not a great time to speculate unless you've got oodles of money and you're willing to lose what you're going to speculate with. Now's not a bad time to check your will and your trust, your estate plan, and see if it's doing what you want it to do. We'll do estate plans for clients, and a year or two later we'll have them come in to review it, and they'll say, that's not what I want. Well, it was 2 years ago, but things have changed, so look at it. Also, finish your estate plan. I get a fair number of clients who will come in and do a plan, pay me for it, and they'll never sign it. They seem to think that if they talk to me a few times and if I've drafted documents, they're done. You really need to sign them, and then after you sign them, you need to follow through and make sure it's doing what you want it to do. Part of doing what you want it to do is titling your assets properly. Clients simply don't pay attention to what assets they have, how those assets are titled, whose name are they in. If you have a trust, have you put your assets in a trust? If you have a family partnership, are your assets in it, if that's what they're supposed to be? To coincide with that, financial statements. I'm sure the bankers here see this problem all the time, and it's one I've been harping on for a long time. Clients' financial statements are rarely accurate, and it's not because they're trying to be fraudulent. They don't pay attention to who owns what of your assets. I might give the bank a personal financial of me and not my wife, but I might have half of her assets on the financial statement because I'm trying to show off and show I got a big net worth. So I include her things on my financial statement. Well, I may be dragging her assets over into my liabilities if I tell the bank I own things that don't. And it's very common for us when we do a search on titling with clients to find that a lot of things they say they own on the financial, they don't own. It didn't get titled properly. It may be in a business rather than in their name, or in a partnership rather than. So if you get nothing out of this discussion today, go home and make a list of your assets, figure out how they're titled, and then go look at any financial statements you've given and see if they're accurate. If they're not accurate, it could be a problem. The financial institution may have a financial statement that isn't accurate and it didn't give them the correct picture. That could get you in trouble. Another thing I see a lot of is when your kids come to you and ask you to guarantee a loan for them, don't. It's amazing how many friends and clients of ours are in trouble right now because they've guaranteed their son's business. And they said, well, I didn't see there was going to be a real risk to it. And son was in business, things were going great. And now they're on the hook for a big, large liability. And just a week ago, I had a doctor that it's my age, which is old, and getting ready to retire, and he had guaranteed about a $500,000 debt for his son's business, and his business is going under. His first question was, well, do you think the guarantee is something the bank will enforce? And I said, well, that's why they give them to you. I think if you read on it, that's, is there any way to get out of it? Yeah, pay it. So don't guarantee debts if you don't have to. And even in your own business, in our law firm, we have some lines of credit that none of us personally guarantee. We put the assets of the company up, and we negotiate with the bank to do that and show what assets we have. But I try not to be personally liable. And I try to make sure that if I don't take that many loans, I'm not rich enough to take a loan out, thank goodness. But to the extent I ever do, I never have my wife sign anything or take any assets out. And I leave the assets that she owns off of my financial statement. So that if I do go under, one of us still has something. Then I just have to hope she'll keep me around.